Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with the highly anticipated Puca Trade final rant. I'm going to say final because it's probably, unless something changes very drastically, I think that it is time to close the door as far as my involvement with Puca Trade. Now, let me just be clear right off the bat. I have never been sponsored by Puca Trade. I have been, they have reached out to me one time to write articles for Puca Trade, and then it just never came to fruition. I don't know exactly what happened. They said they'd contact me around Shadows over Innistrad to write articles, but I didn't even know, like, the details were not discussed, didn't even know how compensation would happen or if it was just a collaboration effort and whatnot. So I've never really had any, like, vested interest other than just being a fan of the trading site because of how easy it used to be to use the service. Now, I told you in the last Market Monday I'd do a video exclusively talking about Puca Trade and the new site. Well, as you may know, back over a year ago, they started an Indiegogo campaign that raised tens of thousands of dollars. Between the tens of thousands of dollars raised with that campaign and just the amount of people that have bought into either gold or silver, I've actually bought silver for 2 years, so I've actually paid into the system. They've raised, I think, a substantial amount of capital for this future site, and I was hoping that it would at least address some of the problems that I had in the past with the overall market of Puca Trade. Now, I never had a problem with the service. I think the old version of Puca Trade was extremely clean, was extremely easy to use, and everything was just, the flow was very easy to make a trade, to confirm a trade, to contact other people, it was A plus in that area. All of the problems I had with Puca Trade were 100% just upon like how I did not feel they knew how to manage an economy or a market, and they slammed me for it. Some people showed me some links where one of the Puca Trade people told me I told the person that don't listen to me, I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about. That was a lovely little comment that was shared with me, and I've just heard around the grapevine how I think that's probably why I was never really offered that writing or the collaboration. I think they probably like, oh, wait a second, doesn't Rogue Deck Builder like not like the service and he's been slamming us? So that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I probably wouldn't have someone write for Rogue Deck Builder if they absolutely hated everything I was about or whatnot. But to be fair to myself, I never hated Puca Trade. It was all what I felt was constructive criticism, even though I put it out in like a ranty form. It was still something that I was trying to be constructive with because it's, again, a service I've paid into. So a lot of people say, what are you bitching about? It's a free service. No, it's not. I am a paying customer, and a paying customer is entitled to have concerns with that company. I mean, this is where has my money been spent for the 2 silvers that I've been I've subscribed to, which I can't remember how much money that is. Like $40 a year, which is still not very much. $5 a month. I think it was $5 a month maybe, but you saved if you did the entire year. Anyway, what we got out of that Indiegogo campaign was absolutely just aesthetics. It had nothing to do. They added like some MTGO, which hasn't worked. It's completely hasn't worked. Has not worked since its inception. And then they had an overly buggy. Overly, like, the images on this site are just so consuming. They even have an image for the little coins. And if you ever tried this on, like, you know, like trying to load this on like a smartphone or even load this on slower devices, this is completely, absolutely horrible to try to navigate. And people are like, well, you can change your settings, your view settings. Well, if you have to take it like a third-party software or just go in and like tinker with the settings to try to lighten it up, it just shows in the flaw. And now I am not alone. We can go over to the subreddit, and these are the top links, the top upvoted links of the past year, actually. So these ones have all been pretty new within the last 8 days. That are just complaining about the aesthetics. So the UI improvements need to go back to a minimalist version. 96.5% upvote rate criticizing the styling of the future site. The UI still not working. All of this kind of stuff has been the hallmark of these little rants on Reddit. And my favorite post is I Need to Vent. This post is just completely spot on about this guy even says he has been, I think he says he is a designer, and this is a great read. Just go to the Puca Trade subreddit and read it. I think this completely sums it up, especially this performance issue. Now, the last Puca Trade we sent off, I believe it was like 4 or 5 packages, and that used to take like 5 minutes with the old Puca Trade. And Zach was just beside himself and refused. He's like, I am not doing this again, because it took him an hour just to kind of navigate through the site. Now, of course, new sites usually do when people get used to. When YouTube changed over, I was a little bit miffed. Like a year ago when trying to navigate through YouTube. Every time YouTube does a change or Facebook does a change, it takes a while to kind of learn the ropes and get used to just kind of the flow. So I understand that, but I think this is beyond this with Puca Trade. But my biggest concern, though, my biggest bitch, my biggest rant with it is just the amount of money that was was spent to make the site look terrible, in my opinion. And worst of all, it doesn't seem like we've had much communication back from Puca Trade other than basically them saying, if you don't like it, then leave. You know, basically take your ball and go home, this is the new direction. And as I stated in my Market Monday video, the worst thing about this whole Puca Trade thing is I feel like that there won't be an opportunity now in the future for another site to kind of mimic how Puca Trade has ran. I think the abysmal leadership and the abysmal management of Puca Trade is just going to put a sour taste in most people's mouths, and it's going to be hard for a different type service to actually fill that niche. And I think I'm just out of a way to kind of send off, like, I am not a small time Puca person. I've sent $3,000+ and received $3,000+ on Puca Trade, and it's worked wonders to get kind of these obscure cards for my Commander players at my local game store, or for Commander decks that I like to use. I've never really been able to get modern staples. Puca Trade's been horrible for that for over a year and a half, and that's why some of my videos have just tried to address that and tried to give them kind of some what I would think, some of my opinions would actually make the trading of modern staples and even standard staples a little more smooth, or a little more incentive for people to send those off. But at least for me, for the amount of players that I have in my local game stores that want like more obscure Commander cards, I've been able to keep my balance pretty low on Puca Trade and keep the flow going. And how I've used that is I've made a killing off of cards like Thought Scour that are high demand commons and uncommons from standard and modern. I've sent out a bazillion Become Immenses, Thought Scours, Shrieking Afflictions. That was one I sent a ton off of. Gut Shots, Vapor Snags, those type of things that there is actually a real demand for these cards, but they're impossible to unload on like eBay and TCG Player because the fees just kill you on those type of transactions. So I really targeted like the $3 to $4 transactions on Puca Trade, and it has worked wonders. I feel like I've filled a niche in that sort of community, being the modern commons and common staple sender. And again, like I think I've also filled a nice little niche of having competitive players be able to get out of their kind of Commander staples, especially from older sets, that are probably pretty hard to find a trade for in the real world, and probably pretty hard to sell on the TCG Player. So anyway, Reddit has been very, very critical, their own subreddit. So how does Puca Trade respond? Puca Trade's COO says that basically all of the big upvotes, 1 to 2 upvotes, he's been personally called out and attacked, and his email address has been kind of doxed, or whatever they want to say. But anyway, if you have a personal email address, if he's kind of put that, I don't know if he had it on the site. So basically people might have been trying to get questions. If you're a paying customer, of course you're going to go and trying to find the person to ask a question about, and that's probably why the email address was included. Please, go ask them why they're doing this. But anyway, I'm inclined to think of Reddit as a whole of a negative cesspool, which I'm happy to ignore. So I've not been the biggest fan of Reddit in the past. I kind of feel the same way. It's kind of like this, especially the Magic the Gathering the Magic the Gathering subreddit has been like this race to upvote your friends' content. I know that there's like collaborative upvoters to get some of the content on the front page, and I don't really like the system of Reddit either. I understand the concern there, but to Reddit, I'm a Redditor. I use Reddit quite frequently. It's one of my stops every day to at least go in and lurk the Magic subreddit, the Pokemon Go subreddit. I have a few other subreddits that I absolutely love to be involved with. And to kind of just like push aside an entire huge part of their own community and call it a negative cesspool is, in my opinion, pretty unprofessional, especially when I think most of these concerns on the Reddit page have been incredibly legitimate. So that's my huge rant about Puca Trade. I'm stuck at 6,000 points on Puca Trade, which is roughly $60. Nothing has moved with weeks. There's been some major, like, my lists were mysteriously disappeared. My want list was mysteriously, like, deleted. My have list mysteriously was deleted as well. Could have been my fault just trying to navigate, but that was frustrating. A ton of frustrating things with Puca Trade. Not one issue with the market has been addressed. I think we're still going to see some runaway inflation. We're still going to see modern staples and other cards continue to decline in overall sense, because it's just a Puca point is not worth $1. And for cards like that, where you can, in the real world, sell it on eBay and TCG Player, are going to be very hard to actually justify why you'd ever send them on Puca Trade. So again, I'm just overall frustrated with the service. I've been a member for 2 years, and I feel like I have a legitimate concern against this. So now to the point of the video, the real ugliness, the basically worm in the apple. And I'm going to get a little bit nasty here, and I don't care, because it needs to be said and more people need to speak up. So Reddit in the past, or not Reddit, Puca Trade in the past has been accused of having some kind of unethical business practices when it comes to its content creators. And this is where I'm specifically going to call out a few people. I want transparency. I want to know exactly how Puca Trade compensated you and exactly how much money you've got out of the referral rating. And the two big ones that I'm going to call out are people that I used to respect in the past because they used to be so transparent. In fact, I used to think that these people had good hearts and had good intentions, but I've had run-ins with them in the past. It's all gone on behind closed doors. In fact, none of them ever basically came to my face and talked to me. In fact, I kind of got the runaround when I confronted two of these individuals about just some interactions about the past. So this may sound like a little bit of a revenge or a vendetta, but I think it's legitimate as far as Puca Trade is concerned, because they were the two biggest people that were sponsored by Puca Trade. So I mean, they've probably siphoned out thousands of dollars with those referral fees, and who knows if the accusations are correct. That is just completely unethical to accept payment in the form of Puca points. It's basically the community that had to pay that money in the form of cards, rather than like could you imagine like the United States Treasury like paying its employees in printed money? That they just decide, oh, we have the ability to print money, like the Fed. Let's just pay our employees in money that we're just going to print. That's exactly what, if Puca Trade pays its authors and its contributors in, or its people that work for them, that is completely unethical and completely will lead to a runaway inflation and the devaluation of the Puca point. So if you guys really want to know my whole bad history, if I get enough comments like, yes, you want to hear, I don't want to start any YouTube drama. We've had so much drama in the past with the community on YouTube, and it's just gotten ugly. And, you know, the whole alliances have shifted so many times. We have a weird history with a lot of the bigger names in the YouTube venue, and a lot of nastiness behind the scenes, and just a lot of just pettiness. And I think I've tried to be public, at least all my pettiness. And, you know, feel free, if you're a fan of these people, you can unsubscribe, you can put dislikes all over my videos, you can call me awful names, you can boycott me, you can do whatever the hell you want. But someone needs to talk out about this. Someone needs to call for transparency. So the first one, who supposedly is all about transparency, is going to be Tulare Community College. So here's his video. Almost 100,000 views, 2,000 upvotes, and right off the bat, a little thing that gives him basically a Puca Trade code that if you liked his video, he will get $3 worth of Puca Trade points. So basically, a lot of his fans, you watch his video, you do the referral code, you get $3 because they gave him, I don't know if he paid for gold or if they gave him gold, and then that's $3 that he can use towards getting Puca points. I'm pretty iffy on the referral code. MTG or GG Degree on his, actually this video right here that says, I don't think you can see it in my little cutoff here, but it says Puca Trade is bullshit. He kind of outlines in the video why you probably shouldn't pay or offer this special code to these like insanely large community members just because of how much money that siphons to that community member. And right down it says this is a sponsored video. So and then what I do respect about Tony Community College is he usually is very transparent, is very he's not afraid to call out Magic like on their crap. He's really good at that, and that's why I kind of like fell in love with his content early on, and used to have a lot of collaborations with Tony Community College. I used to consider him a pretty good friend. I used to talk to him on Skype all the time. I've called him before on his. He has my personal phone number. I have his personal phone number. So we've met up at GPs. And I used to be part of the club, part of the group, until I kind of was outspoken about my criticisms towards Magic the Gathering as a whole, or Wizards of the Coast, how they, I believe, kind of run their political agenda and whatnot. And that kind of got me pushed out of the club. And so I lost respect for TCC there. I've also lost respect for other people in the community that I felt had my back that absolutely did not have my back, and were so quick to choose basically agenda over friendship, which I cannot respect. I have tons of friends with varying ideologies and beliefs. I am here in central Utah, and part of the very, very minority when it comes to the culture in central Utah. If I were just to basically shun or get rid of everyone that didn't align politically or religiously with me, I'd have zero family and zero friends. So it kind of cuts deep when people kind of push you away just for being outspoken about an issue that you hold true. Again, if people want to know more of that story, I'll go into full detail, full transparency of the 3-year kind of drama we've had with the YouTube community, and how kind of the powers have shifted and the alliances have shifted multiple times, and it's just plain ridiculous. But anyway, that's why I'm hoping, this is kind of like, I'm calling out TCC, because if there's one person that I think will be transparent, it will be Brian from Tulare Community College. So I would love to know how much exactly you made off that referral code, what exactly this Puca Trade sponsored video means. Like, exactly what was that? Was that paid in Puca points? Was that paid in the gold? Was that exactly what it was? And lastly, Tulare Community College and the Mana Source have been very silent since this entire upgrade. No new review, which is kind of weird for TCC. Every time there's something new, he usually reviews it. Nothing. With the amount of outrage from the community, silence. Nothing. And it just irks me, just rubs me the wrong way. So yeah, there's one person. I want to hear the opinion on the new one, how you rate it, where you stand now in the kind of the Puca Trade clique, which is a clique, by the way. They have huge meetings and dinners at GPs and things like that on the Inn, if you're a part of the Inn Club. But anywho, that's their business. To each his own. So I just want transparency. So for the second person, the Mana Source, you did a similar video. It got 22,000 views. It got 400 upvotes. It got, right there, your very first thing is, again, a referral code to give you points, which then you can leech money out of the system. This was a sponsored video. Did you get paid in Puca points, or did you get paid in actual cash or some collaborative effort? I want to know the transparency, because it's very, very, very important for me to go forward with where I stand with Puca Trade, and exactly how unethical or ethical, what kind of boundaries they actually have crossed and whatnot. So this is coming from a fed up customer who has paid money into the service. I feel like I have got my value out of it over the last 2 years. I think $80 over the last 2 years has been quite a bargain for kind of receiving and sending over $3,000. You know, that's $6,000 worth of transactions, and $40 or $80 is very minimal a fee for having that sort of transaction. So I just want Puca Trade to, man, I am just regretting ever bitching about Puca Trade, because at least it was functionable, and it was functionable, actual word. At least it functioned, and now it's completely a mess. You cannot navigate through the stupid thing. It's so hard to click on things. Just how many pages open up, and it's just horrendous. So again, I'd like in the comment section below. I've gone on for 20 minutes. I'm not going to go too much more. The subreddit Puca Trade was a subreddit that was created by them to promote them, and has basically turned on them. Other people in the community I've talked to that have used Puca Trade have basically gotten out as well. I think there's just this mass exodus right now going on, and it's just been, everyone has just been so damn silent, and I just want some transparency, I want some answers, and I want to know how to move forward. So that is my rant. Again, I apologize if I offended anyone. This just needed to happen. Someone needed to call out this bullshit. This has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.